Interested in buying a new knife or EDC gear? Click the first link in the description down below. Thanks! What is going on YouTube? But Great Blades here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Avian Knives Topaza, I think is how you pronounce it. Let's start with an overall measurement here. So overall length here, looking at 7.5 inches with a 3.1 inch blade with 3 inches of cutting edge, so not too bad in terms of measurements there. Oops, let's see if this will stand up by itself. Okay. So, are you not? There we go. So, let's measure the blade stock thickness. So, blade stock thickness on this, oh my gosh, 40 thousandths. Yeah, that is thin. So, definitely going to be slicey. Definitely, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a laser beam at that point. Measure the weight. I know this is also going to be pretty cuckoo banana nuts here. The weight on this thing is, I mean, look at this thing. It's thin. It's got a bunch of holes in it. It's, you know, skeletonized. I'm going to say like an ounce, maybe like 1.2 ounces or something nutty. It would help if I turn it on. Like 1.2 ounces maybe. A little bit heavier. Okay, 1.55. Are we sure that's right? Well, I don't want milliliters or kilograms. Ounces. Sorry, I just want to double check. That seems a little bit heavier than I thought. No, okay. So about 1.5 ounces. Even still, that is insane. I mean, you're getting double the cutting edge basically in terms of ratio compared to weight, you know? Most people like about an ounce an inch. This is a little over 1 ounce for 3 inches of blade. I mean, that is crazy. Let's do a size comparison here with the, sorry, keep bumping you guys, the QSP Penguin and the Demco 80-20.5 with original goat scales on it. I'll link them down below. So if we do a comparison here between these three knives, so you're going to see we are at a little bit of an angle, but it is just a tad longer than the 20.5, and then it is just a little bit longer as well compared to the QSP Penguin. So it's definitely not like a, I mean, I would consider it a full-size knife. 7.5 inches, I think it was there, right? I'd consider it a full-size knife, but it's not a huge knife, and it's definitely not, oops, I forgot to do the comparison between the thickness. It would actually help if I closed the blades here. Sorry, my brain's not working too good. I don't brain too goodly today, I guess. So, I mean, I don't know why I need to show you this, but yeah, it's like half as thick, probably a little less actually, than the 20.5, and then, yeah, even still, it's like a third the thickness of a QSP Penguin, which is already a very thin knife. And then carry profile, I mean, it is not a big knife in any, you know, really measurement here, except for the length, I guess, but it is definitely not going to be an issue to carry in your pocket. I mean, this thing is thin, you know, in terms of the actual thickness of the entire knife. It is light, it is relatively small and compact, so it is definitely not going to be an issue to carry. I mean, this thing weighs less than I think the pen that I usually carry, wherever that is. So yeah, it's definitely not going to be an issue to carry this thing. So this is a titanium frame lock, or sorry, yeah, frame lock. It's made by Avian Knives. And I had heard of them previously, just kind of in passing, I think. I don't know if some other, bigger knife YouTuber mentioned them, or from, some friends or something like that. But I had heard of them before, but I wasn't really familiar with any of their knives or anything, or, their work. But first impression, just kind of on this one, just to go off this one, is they make really great things. And I'm a pretty big fan of them. This sort of has like a stone, or almost like a sand wash to it, probably, I would say. There's a little bit of grittiness to it, I guess you could call it. It's not like aggressive, but it's a little bit of texture. It's not perfectly smooth, which I think is fine with me. The blade on this one, does it actually say anywhere on the blade itself? I don't believe it does. From what I could see, based on their website, this is MagnaCut, which is pretty sweet. I would call this a drop point blade, and it is, as you saw, it was real thin in terms of overall blade stock thickness, so behind the edge this thing is, insano. It is actually a flat grind, though. It's not hollow ground, which I think in this case is fine, because it's already so thin. I think if they made it any thinner behind that edge, or in total blade stock thickness, it's you'd be at that sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? I think you would reach that sort of like where the pros and cons, kind of are where they are. Anything more than what you were doing, you're gonna make a worse product. I can't think of the exact thing I'm trying to say there. I'm sure someone will know what I'm trying to say here, but so I think that's okay that they did a flat grind on it. That's okay. But there are still some other sort of just grind lines on here. There's a sort of grind line on the tip, and then also where the slot is. It's got a nice sort of I'm not sure what kind of blast it is, but some sort of medium blast, probably Zerblast or something, perhaps, but very nice consistent blast on the blade there, which I also really do like. I think in contrast it's a little bit lighter than the titanium here, so I think it's a nice contrast there. It is made in China. However your feelings are on that. The OEM is actually Bestech, which, Bestech does pretty good things, and I think this one is probably some of their better things, I would say, in recent memory, in terms of at least OEM work. I'd say, this is pretty good. It feels nice. There is a flipper, pretty low profile tab flipper here, which works just fine. There's a little bit of jimping on it. You also have the slot here, which you can reverse flick, and you can also forward flick it, I believe, maybe. Angle's a little strange, but I'd probably stick to reverse or the tab, but you definitely can get your finger in there, so I'm inclined to believe you probably could, but I don't want to mess with it too much since it's not my knife. But this thing is just crazy. It runs on bearings, probably ceramic bearings. I'm not sure exactly what kind. I don't know if I can see here in my light. Some kind of caged ceramic bearing, I believe. But it feels smooth on deployment. The D10 is nice. Action's great. And it locks up solid. The clip is right hand tip up carry only. Sorry lefties, I don't believe you could. No, because it's, if we look here, it is slotted into the frame there just a little bit, or recessed I should say, so it's not going to be reversible carry. Sorry lefties, once again. But it is tip up carry. That's fine. The clip is a little thin, but I mean, I understand, you know, the whole point of this knife is to be thin. That is kind of their whole thing. Clip is fine. My friend that I'm borrowing this from, Darrening, he bends a lot of his titanium clips out just a little bit, because for those of you who have a lot of experience with titanium clips, sometimes the tension on them is a little bit tight and it can make it really difficult to get them in and out of your pocket. With this one, and because he bent it, I had no issues with that. But of course that does make a little bit of tippy taps going on there, and a little bit of, if you hear when it opens, sometimes it makes a little bit of a ting or like a reverberation going on here. Let me see if I can catch it. Not quite. You can definitely hear it when you close it too. I don't know if that's gonna... But I mean, that's a minor thing. Obviously, that's a personal preference thing, and it doesn't come that way, so it's not really going to be an issue, I think, for most people. It is very comfortable in the hand. There is sort of a little spot here to catch your index finger so you don't go up onto the blade. You can choke up here a little bit. There is sort of a choil here. It's probably more of a sharpening choil, but I can, at least with my small fingers and hands, get up into there. That's what she said. But you can choke up a little bit forward. There is no jimping on the top of the spine here, which is, I think, one thing I do wish they would have done, especially with it being such a thin knife. I think, you know, they could have gotten away still with adding some jimping there, so you can have a little bit better control there when you're choking up, or even just when you have it back here, just a little bit more comfortable there. But yeah, I really do like this knife. I think it's super cool. The company, Avian Knives, I looked into them a little bit just for the video here. They're based out of Thailand, and I mean, obviously there's knife people all over the world, but I feel like, especially in the sort of more, not to be snooty and snobby, but you know, the more premium sort of knives here, which I didn't mention, this knife is about $300, which I think is perfectly fair for what it is, all things considered, especially with this sort of intricate machining that they have to do in the titanium. I think that's perfectly okay, but I digress. You really don't see, you know, certain countries, I think, as popular in sort of the bigger, like more mainstream, I guess, knife world. Like, there's going to be, you know, small custom makers and things like that anywhere you go, no matter what country you're in. But the fact that there's a company that just started, you know, and really hasn't been around too long, and they, you know, have a model, and it's OEM'd by Bestech, which is a big Chinese brand that also does the OEM work sometimes for other companies. I think that's just really cool, because I feel like usually you see China, USA, Canada, Germany, and Russia. You know, I feel like those are probably the main ones that you're going to see in terms of popular knife brands, or the countries where popular knife brands are, I should say. So I just think it's really cool that there's a company that is somewhere else. I just think it's cool. Ergonomically, it is comfortable, though. As I was saying there, you don't feel that clip, which is nice. It is really thin, though, so I mean, you kind of don't feel it, I would say, in general in your hand, but it is a thin knife, so I know sometimes that can be a little uncomfortable for some people with it being such a thin knife. I'd say really the main thing, though, is that sometimes, because it is such a thin knife in the sort of like thickness here, sometimes you can put your finger on the lock bar on accident here, so you just kind of got to watch out for that. You also want to be careful not to bend the titanium in too far here for the actual lock, because it is, again, because it is so thin, that's just something I would say be careful of. But I mean, I didn't have any issues with it. I think it's okay. I do have a little bit of rubbing here, though, so I wonder do have a little bit of rock here. I wonder if maybe I can get that out just a second here. What do we got on the pivot? That's not the one I want. T9, T10 maybe. Nope, T8. And it is steel hardware, which is fine. Let's see. No, not T8 either. Really, is it going to be T6? Wait, what? T10? What was I just using? T9. Oh, I'm sorry. I got my bits mixed up somehow. Okay, so yeah, it is T8, but I just want to see if maybe I can get rid of some of that wobble that we got going on here. Just a small turn here. A little bit better. How's the... Still off center just a little bit. Okay, a bit better on the action there. Okay, yeah. And, okay, yeah, we're back to center and no rubbing there. Okay, so I just needed a little turn of the pivot. That's okay. I mean, you know, you expect if you're using and flipping a knife a lot, eventually it's going to come a little off center, especially if you're not Loctiting it. But this isn't my knife, so I'm not going to Loctite it, but that should be okay. Anyways, I don't remember exactly what I was saying. I do recall in the notes here I got from Derning, who sent this to me, something I just thought was kind of cool and that he mentioned was that the sort of pattern in the cutouts here on the handle is based off the ISO grid that NASA uses in like their spacecraft and satellite and things like that. So it's kind of, you know, for thinness and but also structural integrity. So I just thought that was kind of cool. I'm not really sure what else I have to say about this, though. I mean, it is a thin knife. It's, you know, sharp, slicey, everything you want, and it's not terribly expensive. But be sure to let me know what you guys think down below. Have you heard of avian knives? And this one is the Topaza. And be sure to leave a like and subscribe because I'll be posting more content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.